We had no toys, only what we made. Nobody bought toys until we got bigger. My oldest sister got a job, and she bought us toys. She made $8 a week. She rode the bus home for a quarter, and on weekends. And she'd come home for Christmas, and she'd bought every one of us a Christmas presents, and that was the first time I ever remember getting a Christmas present except a bag of candy tied onto the tree.
How old were you then?
Well, as long as I can remember, Dad bought candy.
And how old were you when you got your first store-bought Christmas present?
9. And Dorothy was working for people that owned a laundry in Somerset, and they was paying her $8 a week, so she bought us all Christmas presents. And had us a Christmas party and invited the whole school, whole neighborhood. And we was bragging about what we got for Christmas. Me and my sister got the same thing almost, or no, not the same thing, but we both got a set of jacks, which cost a nickel. We got a handkerchief, which was 2 for a nickel. And I got a Jean Darling doll. Then she was working at a store in Eubank, clerking in a store later on, and I'd never had a birthday present. So the guy she's working for brought her home, and it was getting late, and she'd been staying up there. And she said she was going to get supper. And I saw she was going to baking a cake, and I knew what she was doing. And I wanted to lick a bowl, and she said no. Said, "You get out of here." Well, it was my birthday cake, but that made me hurt my feelings, so I cried, and I went upstairs and laid on the bed and fell asleep. They come up and woke me up after dark, and we never had supper after dark unless we had company. She said, "Faye, come down to supper." And when I come down, there was that birthday cake. And there was something rolled up in my plate. And since we used old folded rags for for stove rags, we called them. And that's what I thought was in my plate. It was a light purple or lilac. About that color. A little bit lighter. So I picked it up and I said, "Get these old rags out of my plate." I went to eat, and they laughed at me. They said, "That's your birthday present." It was a piece of material with a pair of socks to match, which Mom made me a 16 gourd dress, what I wanted. My friend had one, and she borrowed it, and she made me a dress like it, out of it. But that was my first birthday present. So everything was happening at 9 years old. I was pretty darn lucky. And then I got to go to town. And I didn't understand things when I went to town. So Dorothy, of course, took me. I was her pet. She had to buy some material to make her some clothes for college. She's getting ready to go to college. And I'd never been to town before, so she told me to go to school, but leave school at a certain time and meet her down the railroad track, close to our house. And we'd go down to the next station, down towards Somerset, instead of going to the one that was closer, because it cost more to ride another mile or so. So we walked, and she brought my shoes, had them polished, because we went to school barefooted. And we carried my shoes down to the depot.
Is this a train depot?
Yeah, little train depot. And a woman run it. She sold tickets or something. And so when we got to that little place, you flag a train down. They didn't stop at the stations unless somebody got out there in the middle of the track and flogged them down, waved them down, and then they'd stop and pick you up. So that's what Dorothy done. She got out on the railroad track when the train was coming, started waving, and the train slowed down, stopped. We got on it. I'd never been on a train before. And we rode to Somerset. And I remember we was in the smoking compartment. You wasn't allowed to smoke but in that one room. And so we got to Somerset, and I enjoyed the train ride. And we got off at the station when we got there, and you had to walk up a big long hill, several blocks to town when you got off the train. So we got off, and I said, well, I've got to go to the toilet. She took me to a restroom that was sitting outside the depot, and I'd never seen a sink or a toilet like that before. We had homemade wooden ones. And she told me, she said, now you go in there, and when you get done, she said, you pull that string. So I did, and water come in it. And I thought, where'd that water come from? I didn't see no water around there. So I took the tank lid off. I was trying to find where the water come from. Dorothy come after me. She said, get out of there, Faye. What are you doing? I said, I just wanted to see where that water come from. She said, you don't need to. Come on, let's go. But at that time, I'd never been in a restaurant before, so I didn't know what to expect, except some food. And she said, I'll order for you. She said, bring us a hamburger and a Coke. I said, what's a hamburger? She said, it's made out of meat. I said, is it made out of ham? She said, no, made out of beef. I said, how could a hamburger be made out of beef? But it tastes pretty good, and I ate it. And drank the Coke. I'd never had a Coke before that I knew of. No, I guess I hadn't, because I hadn't started going to decorations yet, where they had them, festival things. So that was a big deal, but she didn't convince me that I thought that had to be a beef burger. It couldn't be a hamburger. So then we went to some stores, and she bought some material, and she bought a chain with a light bulb on it. I thought, what in the world? I don't think I'd ever seen a light bulb before. I said, what are you going to do with that? She said, I'm going to put it in the living room. We didn't have electricity, and I didn't know what was going on. When we got home, she told the boys to put that light cord up that had the bulb on it. So they had a lot of wires on it. They run the wires to the car battery that we operated the radio on. And we just got the radio not long before, and it run off a car battery because we didn't have electricity. And so they hooked the cable on that battery and put that light up. And we all gathered around. We wanted to see the electric light. And boy, that was a big deal. And they only left it on about 5 minutes. No, we can't use it much. It'll run the battery down. Just let us see it, so we could brag about we had electric light. So what else you want to know?